was still in territory, so it was before statehood. And when I was a first grader, I remember walking down the street with the American flag, and we were so excited because we had become the 50th state. This is just a brief handout, but I'm just going to kind of talk story. Interestingly, when I talk about statehood, my father was not real vocal, but he was very anti-statehood. And so in 1961, just a couple of years after statehood, he and my mother had a choice to make. They had received their notice that they could, that they were getting a lot in Kilkaha, in Hilo, Hawaiian homes. And so, but they made the decision to forego their Hawaiian homes lot. And so when I talked to my father about that, what they were thinking through at the time was that statehood had come to their homeland. And he said it was like, if you're going to surf a wave, you're not going to wait for the wave to break on shore. Okay? You're going to go out and you're going to meet the wave. So what they decided at the time was forego their Hawaiian homes lot, move to the mainland, take their kids to the mainland, find out what the deal is, okay? Raise their kids in the mainland and bring them home later if they decided to. That was the decision they made. So in the early 60s, they moved all their kids to the mainland. It wasn't out of need. They already had a job. They already had a place that they could live on if they wanted to. But he was just feeling that wave and that he needed to take his kids and educate them up there, and so that's what he did. And so when I was just getting into my teen years, we moved to California, Southern California. And that's where I had 2 more siblings that were born up there, but there were 7 of us in all. And my parents were very literate. They were both high school grads. My father graduated from Liko A'e, my mother from Kamimia School. She graduated from Kamimia School in a time where the Olelo Hawaii was never taught. Okay? The Hawaiian girls were only to hula sitting down, no stand-up hula at the time she was there. But they were both very literate. And so when I say that, what we pass on to our children, the level of literacy that you have is going to go for generations. That was a gift my parents gave me. I don't remember my father ever reading a book besides the Bible, but he read the newspaper every day. He knew exactly what was going on in the world until the day he died. And so they brought us up in that highly literate environment. We read, we talked. And so there's a link here. There was a story that I wrote a couple of years ago about my father's mother. And the name of the essay was, her name is Violet. And so if you're interested at all in reading more, our family was part of what they call the diaspora in the 1960s. The diaspora is the scattering of people from their homeland. And so we were part of the diaspora of the Hawaiians in the 1960s. So that was my early history. What made me go back to school was, right after I got out of high school, I did go to school. Okay, I did like all good girls did at the time, you know. I wanted to be a teacher at the time. I graduated in like 1970, okay. Vietnam War, the Beatles, Motown, that was my coming of age, okay? You were either going to be a teacher or a secretary, a nurse, never a doctor, and never the boss. Birth control was illegal. You could not buy birth control at the time. This was before Roe versus Wade. There was no abortion. So that was my coming of age. So I wanted to be a teacher. So I went back to school, got pregnant and married in that order, and started having a family. So, you know, I had dropped out of school. And each of us makes our own decision about our priorities. My priority at the time was raising my family. But I also needed to work. So I worked outside the home. My husband and I both worked all while we were raising our kids because I needed to, you know. And so I figured I was splitting my home life in half outside, half inside. And at the time, all those years, I was not willing to split it into thirds. Okay? And I give everybody credit, especially those who are single parents, those who are raising young kids, going to school, working. But my decision at the time was half was enough, but I wasn't going to do it in thirds. So I never went back to school. But I was blessed because I came up in an age in the 70s and 80s when you could still work your way up. Okay? And we were just talking about how the standards have raised now, where society has made it so much more difficult to get a job, a good paying job, without not only a bachelor's, but a lot of times without a master's. Okay? But without a college degree, I was a purchasing agent at San Diego State University for the College of Engineering. I was a certified paralegal in the state of California. I headed up a nonprofit. I worked for other nonprofits. All this without a college degree. Okay? Today, the same person coming out of school would not have those opportunities. Good or bad, that's reality. Okay? Each of us defines success in our own way. The way I define success is to meet or surpass your own goals that you set for yourself. Okay? And those goals are going to change throughout life, throughout every day. When I was younger and I had kids, 3 in diapers, my goal was get through the next hour. Stay awake until 10 o'clock after the kids go to sleep. You know, that was my goal, you know. I mean, my window was so small. But as my children grew up, and I have one girl and 5 sons. There were 6 teenagers at one time in our household. And so my goal at the time was get them through high school. Okay, make sure they graduate high school drug-free. So, they all graduated high school. But get them through high school, get them the basics, and interestingly enough, when I look back on it, I did not set a goal for them all to finish college. Okay? That was not part of my mindset. Good or bad, it just wasn't. Okay? And this is why I think when I look back at it. When I define success and setting goals, success is only, your success is your success, okay? My success in getting my kids to graduate high school was while I still had control. In other words, you can only be successful if you're in control of the end product, okay? So while they were still under my control in my household and I could define what I wanted them to do, I believe that that was my goal and my success. Once they become adults, that's their success, okay? That's their goal. So we encouraged them to go to school. We offered to help in whatever way we could. There's no way we could send them over to college. But out of 6, 3 did go to college and graduated. 1 has gone on and gotten his MSW. But interestingly, my daughter, out of the 6, my daughter has a traditional home life. Okay, she's married, has 3 kids. She has a non-traditional work life. She's a stevedore in California. She makes more money than 2 or 3 of her brothers put together. Okay? She's 6 figures a year. And she loves it, okay? Because she's always liked working outdoors. She has the freedom and the income to travel and do whatever she wants to do. Okay? But she's never gone back to school. But that's her success. Okay, that's her. Now she feels free to do whatever she wants. If she wants to go back to school, she can go back to school. So I believe that success is, you know, your own individual goals. What keeps me inspired to wake up every day is the work that needs to be done. Because I've chosen to come back to Hawaii to live. We brought our kids back in the early 90s. And they were, they all graduated here at home. And some of them stayed here, some of them moved back to the mainland. I really don't like giving other people words of wisdom, but one of the questions that Lucas had asked was if there was anything that we could share. And I would just say both in the work world, home life, your school life, staying organized has got to be, up at the top. I mean, you can't juggle 4, 5, 6 classes a semester without staying organized. In order to stay organized, you need to know what your priorities are, because you can't organize around chaos. You can't organize yourself if you don't know what your priorities are. And the other thing that I would advise, and I advise my children, is to question everything. You don't have to verbalize your questions, but you should have that mental process. Everything that you're taught, everything that you're told, we already know what we were taught about Hawaiian history. We already know that. That, a lot of what we have been taught in the past has not been accurate. So I think as Hawaiians, our kupuna, they question the natural world, they question, why this, why did that happen, and that's how they made sense of where they were. And so I think, questioning throughout your life, not necessarily questioning authority, but questioning, why is this way? Why can't I do this? Why isn't it? We have to keep active in our learning and to keep, be lifelong learners and always curious. And so, I went back to school at 60, and I still get a lot of people ask me, are you the kumu? When they come to class, they're like, are you the kumu? No. Are you the advisor? No. I'm a student like you guys. But what really pushed me was my oldest grandchild started college when I was 60. So I told her, really, I'm going to go back to school. She's like, oh, all right. So they were all for it. So I went back to school. Since then, so I'm going to be 63 this year. Since then, 2 other grandchildren have gone on to school. And one of my sons has gone back to school. So I think when we talk about generations, it's just living your life so that what other people see, they might just pick up a little corner of what you're doing. But I know you always get asked the question, what are you going to do with your degree? Well, I get asked the same question, They're like, what are you going to do with your degree? Okay, this is what I'm going to do with my degree. I'm a Hawaii Pacific Studies major. And my parents were part of the generation where their parents were native speakers. And they were the generation that was never taught the language. So that was my, that was an important part of my decision in not only coming back to live in Hawaii, but in taking Hawaii Pacific Studies, is to learn Olelo Hawaii and the curriculum of Hawaii Pacific Studies. I was very curious as to what they're teaching the young people. But within the past year, I've gotten together with 2 other Hawaiian women who are part of the DOE, and they work with incarcerated juveniles. Shevis Niao from Waimanalo and Charlene Manu is now back on Big Island. So we formed a nonprofit. It's called Kunoa, and Kunoa means to stand free of restriction. And the mission of Kunoa is to help incarcerated Hawaiians and their families. People who have been incarcerated, people who are incarcerated now, families that are on the outside. We did our research, and there are other organizations that are helping the incarcerated, but no one that we could find that was helping Hawaiians who are incarcerated. And so it's a lane of traffic that nobody else is really in right now, taken care of adequately. We have a lot of our prisoners that are living in Arizona, California, spread out all over the place. Just nobody's doing enough. And, you know, we all probably know someone who has been, is now, or will be in jail, prison, in the system. There's not enough help for people when they get out. There's not enough help for their families when they're in. And so if any of you are interested at all in that, you know, email me. We have submitted our paperwork to the IRS to become a 501c3, and so we're waiting on the IRS. And my last bit of inspiration is, see this picture of Diamond Head? Okay, I went to Diamond Head one day, and I stood at the base of Diamond Head, and I thought, you know, this is kind of an ugly mountain. Up close, you look at Diamond Head, you're like, look, it's brown, you know, it's not green. So I looked at it, like, oh, it's kind of ugly. But this picture is one of the most iconic pictures in the world. There was a group that took a picture of Diamond Head and did a worldwide survey online, okay? Where is this? Do you know 8 out of 10 people around the world knew, well, that's Hawaii. Diamond Head, okay? People are, oh, that's Hawaii. Or, oh, that's Waikiki. Only Mount Fuji in Japan was more people knew Mount Fuji than Diamond Head, okay? That gave me a whole new view of Diamond Head. But it also gave me a new view on life, you know? Up close, when you're in the weeds, things look pretty ugly. But the farther you get away and the longer you have a view back on what you've accomplished, the decisions you've made, they look so much better, okay? And those of us who come to LCC, UH Wasawaku, or drive, you know, Waianae, I live Waianae, drive this freeway, you get to see Diamond Head every day, okay? From 30 miles away, you get to see Diamond Head. It's beautiful. If you haven't really thought of it, when you get on the freeway, look and you go, wow, that's Diamond Head. So that was my thought. You may be in the weeds now, but we'll get out. Thank you.